Hello everyone and welcome to the 7th tutorial in our survival game series done by Brackeys. I am the CEO of Brackeys, and today we are going to take a look at something very exciting. We are going to take a look at something called particle systems, and these can make spells and magical effects and explosions and fire look so damn cool. And we're also going to take a look at something a little more practical, which is render settings. Okay, so if we go ahead and open up Unity, I've already done this. The scene is exactly as we left it this time, which is also why I want to make some quick changes. So first of all, I just want to delete all of these animations. These animations were for my last, my previous maze, and not for the new one that I made. So I'm going to delete these and just drag the new animation I made into that folder. At some point I will do these animations again. Okay, and I also want to make a new folder called GUI and just drag the crosshair in there. And yes, this should pretty much get us started. Yes, also I want to drag this maze and this sword out into the assets. So if we go back here, we can now see that the two prefabs are stored here. So I want to right click and again make a new folder called prefabs. I suggest that you do this too. It's a good way to organize everything. You could also make subfolders like weapons and stuff, but I won't do this until it gets cluttered with everything. And also I have forgotten to click on the sword and then remove the animator component. Oh, I can see that the maze that I have here in my prefab is not actually a prefab, it's just an import. So I'll go ahead and drag this back into our input folder and then just select the maze in my scene and then drag this down so we have that as a preset. A prefab, sorry. Okay, so first of all, let's go ahead and change the settings. This is the boring part, though this can change a lot. So go to the edit button above and go down to render settings. And in here you can do stuff like fog and ambient light. These two are the most important settings. So what fog is basically it will blur out objects in the distance with a certain color. So if I just go ahead and quickly make some objects and drag them out into the distance and put a light over them so that we can see what they actually are. So you can see them there. And I'll just maximize the game view a little bit. So if we go ahead under the render settings again, and then enable the fog, you can see that they get blurred with a grayish color while nothing happens to the foreground. And so you can adjust this color. You could make it red-ish, some orange. If you're in a desert, you could make it light bluish if you're close to the sky, or in a snowish environment. You could make it darker if you were making a horror game. And so you can play around with this. This can add cool depth without putting too much pressure on the graphics card and processor. So, but for now, I'll just keep this disabled. I just wanted to give you the opportunity. And once we start creating our landscape, then I will re-enable this properly. Ambient light, and this is something that I had people ask me, because they say, oh, I want to make a room that is completely dark except for the one light that I have. And I can't do that. And why is that? This is because of the ambient light. So right now you can see that this is set to a grayish, dark gray color. So this is the darkest color that can be shown in your scene. So even if you don't have any lights, this is it. So if you want to make a horror game, I recommend that you drag this all the way down. Now you can see that all the parts of my scene that is unlit gets overflown with this color. So generally, you don't want to have things that isn't lit at all. You want some kind of lighting, else every single piece of detail that you made will just disappear. But for something like an adventure game or a survival game or a RPG, you generally want things to be pretty well lit. So for now, we'll just keep this at the grayish color also. Okay, so go up to Edit and then Project Settings and then Quality. And this is actually what you also call for the render settings. So you can see that we have the different levels. This is just presets of settings that Unity has set up for us. And the green little marks here means that this is what the different platforms, so this could be web, the PC, the Mac, it could be iPhone, all these different platforms will use by default. So first of all, let's go ahead and say that this will be fantastic for all of them by simply using the smaller downwards pointing arrows here. And let me just get closer to the mic. And so let's go ahead and click on the fantastic level. And then let's crank up some of the settings. So the pixel light count is basically how many lights you can see reflecting off one surface. So if I add, I just set this to 1, and then add a whole bunch of lights. I'll just go ahead and delete the stuff I made in the background here. So this was the duplicates. Delete that and delete the light. Okay, so if we make a whole bunch of lights and put them in different places on the surface, you can't seem to be able to see any difference. It might get lighter, but as soon as we crank it up, so project settings, quality, and then change this to maybe 5, you can start to see specularity, and also in the game view. So this is basically how detailed you want the lighting to be. And I think that we want the lighting to be a whole lot more detailed than just 4, because this actually doesn't take off that much power. It's not even that heavy. So let's just set this to 100 for now. This is a heavy number and we won't be using that much. It's just to say don't cut it down. Texture quality, definitely want this to be full res. This simply makes the textures, you can simply make the textures look worse and therefore take less power to render. And anisotropic textures, you should leave this at forced on. This is fine. I won't explain what it actually does. Anti-aliasing. Anti-aliasing is simply a smoothing of the edges. So if I go ahead and disable this, and you take a look at some of the edges here, you can see that they are not so smooth again. And if I crank this up to 8, all the pixel errors just gets completely cut off. So you want this as high as possible, but this is pretty heavy. So for now we can just leave this at 4 because I'm recording meanwhile. But generally the fantastic setting in a game should leave this at 8. But for now let's leave it at 4. No, you know what? Let's leave the fantastic level at 8 and then just test at the beautiful level that we'll create in a second. So soft particles, you want this. And you can play around with the shadows, though this only matters when you have Unity Pro. And this you can just leave alone. So go under the beautiful and I'll just quickly type some things in. So this will be 75. Full res, forced on, 4 times anti-aliasing, shadow distance will be, let's say 100. And again, 4 cascades. And the good should be 50. And then, yeah, still full res. Per texture though, anti-aliasing 2, soft particles still, and the shadows look fine. Symbol should be about 25. And then full res, per texture disabled, no soft particles, and the shadows look fine. Fast should be about 10. Full res, no anisotropic textures, no anti-aliasing, no soft particles. We can still have some shadows, maybe. That's your call. And fastest pixel light count 5, half res, no, disable shadows, and you'll be good to go. All right, so let's leave this at beautiful while we are testing. So we can go ahead and save, Control S, and go back to the assets folder. And wow, we have already spent 12 minutes. So, okay, this is the end of this part. In the next part, we'll cover the particles. I'm sorry that I had to cut this up. So, thank you for watching.
Let's go!